a pleasure for me to facilitate this talk today. This is an incredible exhibition, really exploring, I think really crucial concepts that so many of us, here today spend a lot of time, I think, thinking over and exploring in our own work and in our own lives as well. So I might start then, first of all, with looking at Mylyn's work. So Mylyn Nguyen, she's developed several solo exhibitions that have humorously explored her childhood memories and curiosities. These comprehensive bodies of work, as well as several smaller projects, have varied in appearance, approach, and materials, yet are all imbued with an incredible skill and wondrous imagination that continues to extend the sense of spectacle and intrigue her artworks generate.
As I said in my diary to go and do a lot more photos around the Bankstown area. The lockdown happened, so I didn't actually get to go, and pretty much, like all of the photos, all of the references are from Google, so it was actually quite interesting and to try to find all these pictures of insides of the stores. But yeah, the most exciting part for me was actually doing the fish, the seafood inside, and trying to create all of the ice and the cabinets, and it was, I like that kind of stuff. I mean, I love the painting. The painting was fun to do as well, but I always find that it's the little kind of miniatures that I like to do the most, pretty much. I know that the banh mi store, Banya, like that. Like a lot of people are very obsessed in that store, so a lot of pictures are from fans. It's quite good actually. There's a lot of photos available online to look at, especially on the inside. I love the fact that you can take tours of insides of stores. I think that's really quite kind of cool. And
I mean, I think it's amazing that you use those photos as a source of inspiration. I suppose you had some memory of them from the past, but really you actually really had to just work from digital sources.
Yeah. Which it's quite timely because none of us can go anymore. So it's actually quite interesting to kind of exclusively work from photos and from what I can find online. It's quite a weird moment in time that, none of us can go and look at them now. A lot of the buildings that I chose, the facade is really just, it was almost looking at like a theme park where the facade is really just, that front, and there's no actual building behind it.
So Garry Trinh, who I've known personally for a number of years now. Hi, Garry. He's an artist working in photography, video, painting, and works on paper. He makes art about the uncanny, unexpected, and spontaneous moments in daily life. He's inspired by his surroundings and from the vast visual output of mass culture. His works are about a way of looking at the world to reveal magic in the mundane.
When I take a digital image, and because I can control it so much, it always comes out perfect. And I don't feel like I could ever draw or paint anything on top of that because the photo is already done, it's finished, it's perfect the way it is, With a Polaroid, it always comes out wrong. It's always imperfect, It's always something, it's not focused, or the composition is not right, or there's some kind of light leak happening there. So it never comes out perfect. And so that's a chance for me to actually, it's an excuse or it's an invitation to allow me to draw and paint on it, and to make it the way I wanted to, to add something new to it, I guess. Since I started painting, so the last 6 or 7 years, I've really tried to let go of the being perfect. It's really hard to let go of that and really hard to embrace the imperfections, I'm always, every time I make a work, I feel like I'm always trying to let go of something having to be perfect and trying to embrace and run and accept the imperfections, accept just how things are, how things turn out, accept that, I can control certain things and then other things I can't control. And I'll let that, and those other things that I can control, they're beautiful also. I don't have to control everything,
Maybe that speaks something about one of your own preoccupations. And I think something that you're known for is you've got very good attention to detail as well. And what was it about this object in particular, or those two clocks?
It's really difficult for me to understand the significance of that clock for me. I think when I saw it, it just put a smile on my face. It's just two clocks that are back to back, but they're different. They're different clocks and the time is slightly out. To me, when I see that clock, it just represents Bankstown so well. It represents the people of Bankstown perfectly to me through my eyes, to how I think about Bankstown. It's just can-do attitude. It's just that, make do with what you have. Don't make it perfect. Just get what you have and make do, make it work. It's that attitude that Bankstown has, that character that Bankstown has, that I was really drawn to, and that clock really says all that to me.
Now I wanted to welcome to the conversation the two emerging writers that we have as well, who are undertaking remote residencies as part of the Bankstown Arts Centre in partnership with Sydney Review of Books. Nguyen, Helen Tran is a Vietnamese Australian writer working on Gadigal land. One of her latest articles, Why I'm Reclaiming My Traditional Name, is published on SBS Voices, and you can find more of her work at Peril Magazine, Killer, and the chapbook Sky Conversations.
Just such a simple word, care, which something I've kind of just always assumed I knew about and understood, really became a complex and interesting term to me that really actually contains so many multitudes. What I wanted to reflect on specifically for this residency was the essence of care within a family unit, a family space, against the backdrop of migration and distance, looking not only at the locality of southwestern Sydney, Canterbury, Bankstown area, Cabramatta, and the Vietnamese migrations and Vietnamese families there, as it is a memoir piece as well, specifically looking at myself and my family, but also the connection to Vietnam as well, and the idea of families separating and connecting again. Within the family, there were so many complex experiences, from lived experiences of trauma to chronic illnesses to mental ill health, and just a variety of things. And so how do we deal in a singular fashion, deal with ideas of care for ourselves and others in society and community, and what do we bring to the table to those we care about? When I started writing this, I kind of had this idea of looking at the last year in hindsight, in the past. But what I've realized is it's in a very intense period, a continuously intense period. And so the present just gets amplified. And then what happens then is the memories and the history and all of these lines of history throughout each person and what's happening now collectively to all of us gets drawn into the present as well. And what does that mean for us today? So I'm really focused on looking at that.
I think these are really important ideas that need, more explanation, because I think a lot of people who don't necessarily exist in these kinds of networks don't really understand how it works, which in fact, I think in the world, this is quite normalized what you're talking about. The way that families connect, and through the different generations and the complexity of all that too.
Definitely. And it's also, how do you show that? It feels urgent to ask that question. There are lessons we can learn from refugees, and overcoming fear, how to overcome fear is one of them when your life depends on it. I want to write about, why do you overcome that fear? What is stronger than fear to make you do that?
We also have James Go. He lives on unceded Darug land. His honors thesis at the University of Sydney interrogates why the ethnic Chinese in Vietnam, the Hoa, have been effaced from national histories and collective memories of war in and flight from Vietnam. His broader interests include histories of global racial capitalism and queer of colour critique.
A large part of my thinking, my response to isolation, is informed by my past work about the Hoa ethnic Chinese diaspora, ethnic Chinese in Vietnam, and thinking about how connections or their presence within Vietnam historically and politically, socially, and economically in particular have been disappeared essentially through historical memory and rituals or practices of remembrance. And so in this essay, I'm basically thinking about how some of those relations map onto the space, both spatially in terms of the sort of geography of Bankstown, having Bankstown train station, the railway line literally cut through the space, as well as thinking about how senior space is marked. We have a sort of Saigon place with a particular boat people memorial. And I'm also thinking about how these dynamics of severance and relation or interdependence actually manifest at an interpersonal level. I'm thinking about the commutes that I used to take when I was returning home from school through Bankstown train station at ticket barriers where, the presence of police is so common. It's very much also reflecting on my own position, like where do I fit and belong in Bankstown as someone who is from working class means, but I guess through university education is becoming more socially, upwardly mobile, and thinking about how those different kind of social trajectories or mobilities are very much unified by the shared tempo or temporality of public transport, like a bus. Why is it that I don't know or do know certain things about the people or the passengers that I encounter on the bus? What does that perhaps speak to or gesture to that we don't quite yet know?
I mean, I think what you're talking about really is just what it means to like live in an urbanized kind of environment, like this area is, and it's very multicultural. We live alongside each other, but we don't really necessarily know each other. So I'm going to start learning Arabic. And I've been thinking about it for a while, but I thought maybe that's one way to bridge the gap. But I really appreciate it. Thank you for, everyone's kind of time and attention today. And especially we had quite a large audience from, I think friends and family and beyond as well.
But I think it's been really important to bring yourselves as a group, as a panel, to have this conversation. And I think the kind of range of all your practices have really spoken to where we are at this moment in time.
Thanks, Vandana. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today.
Bye for now. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.